Okay, now we can start the show.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, Peter G Show, Peter G Show. Divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad. Peter G Show.
I'm telling you, one step at a time, I'm figuring out this mess. Yeah. How the hell is everybody? Sunday night. I'm excited tonight. I am. Something with the audio. Facebook software, all of a sudden this past month or two, the minute you hit live. Now, if you're just talking into like your phone and all that kind of stuff, it works properly. But when you're sending a feed into a camera, for some reason it just cuts everything off lately. And I'm finding out that the minute you hit the go button, you need to unplug the audio and plug the audio back in, which really sucks. It's stupid. But I'm sure I'll figure it out within the next year. And then they'll change it again. Sunday night, December 13th. Tonight I'm excited. It's going to be really good for you and for me. Tonight we're going to have Miss Nikki Bruno, life coach. She's got a lot to offer. The holidays are kind of tough. I always talk about this kind of stuff. For a lot of people, it's been tougher because of the year. And God knows, everybody needs a little help. I need a lot of help. But either way, she's going to come on the big screen, and I'm going to throw some stuff at her, and she's going to answer some questions and talk about a lot of stuff that I'm going to be asking her. And she's really good. And she's easy on the eyes, boys. Watch parties. I need you to do the watch party stuff. Bolt Energy in the house. We're going to talk about them in a second. But I need you to just go and hit the share button. Do me the favor, please. Next year is going to be a big year, and I want to be able to say it was all because of you. My loyal 3 million people that make it happen, that support, watch, and share. So I'm going to start a watch party. It's like, Nikki, Bruno will be on, and, oops, I can't spell, and it's going to be awesome. And then I just wrote a little something. You don't even have to do that. You just hit the watch party. And then I just said start a watch party. And then boom. Now I'm starting a watch party on my personal page to share with some of my friends. And it's that easy. It's that easy, folks. Really harmless, and especially when you believe. Speaking of believing, I could not be here if it wasn't for my, you guessed it, my beloved Bolt Energy. Why Bolt Energy? No preservatives. No other energy drink out there with no preservatives. If you think you can find some, let me save you the trouble. It's not there. These guys wanted to develop a cleaner energy drink. It's enriched with vitamins and antioxidants. But we had a long talk last week. We had a little meeting and catching up on stuff. I mean, they're forever growing, just like this show. And everything is, it's all natural. You're not going to get all jacked up like 80 cups of caffeine. It gives you just enough of a boost naturally. Paul likes it. Hey, Paul. Where was I? Well, as I was saying, they're workout fanatics. They wanted something that wasn't, people complain about energy drinks. Oh, they're no good for you, they're this and that, Behold, Bolt Energy. Electrify your senses. Go to the store and ask for Bolt Energy. Ask the store clerk, do you have any Bolt Energy? And he say, what is this Bolt Energy? And if they don't have it, say, what do you mean? And you say, what do you mean, what do you mean? I got Bolt Energy. Believe me, if they know you want it, they will get it. Their whole purpose is to sell. If you can't find Bolt Energy, go to www.drinkboltenergy and ask the Bolt Energy people. Say, hey, I saw Bolt Energy on the Peter G Show. Where can I find this Bolt Energy? In fact, you should ask them in the store. So Peter G said, Bolt Energy. Go out and get you some. And here's the biggest thing. For me, I love the taste. I mean, you know, I'm just one of those guys. I'm kind of a little bit particular. I'm not a coffee drinker. You know I got friends who don't speak a word until they have, you know, coffee in them and stuff like that. I like something brighter in the mornings, and it's not that I would, you know, have to do this, but what I'm saying is if I really need to, like, feeling like dragging ass, this is my go-to. Bolt Energy. Salute. It just has that spark. I like it. It's refreshing. How's that? Goes well with your favorite adult beverage, too, people. Just so's you know. Bolt Energy. Ask for it. We'll get back to that. Okay, so where are we? Oh, I haven't done that, too. I need to be able to see what people are saying. Shame on me. I'm all excited. Nikki Bruno, life coach. She's, you know, she kind of was easy to get. I contacted her. She made it simple enough for me to, you know, sure, Peter, love to be on your show. I talked to her. She's easy to talk to. I mean, what more do you want than that? There we go. Sorry, I'm just trying to put up the screens because I'm self-sufficient nowadays. Hello. There we go. Okay. So we're going to call her up in a matter of moments. Had a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about, but it's not nearly as important about talking to Nikki Bruno. So that's going to be my big deal. We're going to give it a second. And then we're going to dial her up. California is still undergoing manic depression. I hope you guys are hanging in there. It's just a friggin' mess, people. It really is. Keep your heads up high. Don't give up faith. Don't believe all the bullshit either. I promise you, there's a ton of it. And for those who can't see through it, you will. Soon enough. The party's just starting. Oh, boy. All right, listen, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to call up Nikki Bruno because I want to talk to her because, again, nothing more important to me than dealing with people and helping people understand that, you know, life's a bitch and it's hard, but it can always be worse, and there's, you know, ways to get around it. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to go find her. Let's go find Nikki Bruno. Much better to talk to than me anyway. So let's close that up. How do we do this? You boys. Where is it? It's not the way it's supposed to be. Oh, wow. That was weird. All right, let's give her a... Give her a call. Nikki Bruno.
Check you out, Peter G.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment I've been waiting for. Miss Nikki Bruno. How are you?
I am doing well. I am having a really cheery day because today is Presents Gift Wrapping Day.
Presents Gift Wrapping Day. Do tell.
Yeah. I have been wrapping I probably spent about 4 hours wrapping gifts today. And I don't know why it took 4 hours. I guess because I was being kind of methodical about it. And also I was listening to Christmas carols and just doing my thing. So, it's been a nice day.
So you're a rapper is what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm a rapper.
A rapper from the East Side.
I'm from the East Side, yo. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You're in Southern California, right?
I am on the east side of Los Angeles. That's
what I meant by East Side, you know. And so sunny California was a little chilly today. I didn't even go out today.
I did. I went out to CVS to buy stocking stuffers.
Oh, how was that?
Yeah. It was beautiful. And also I had a family call, a weekly family call with a bunch of my extended family. All of them live in Michigan.
Oof.
And they were like, please don't show us whatever is outside your window, Nikki, because we're just going to want to throttle you.
Are they shoveling snow?
Sorry, guys. I don't think they're shoveling snow, but they're about to.
They will.
Snow.
They will.
Yeah, they probably already have been.
I don't miss that. I grew up my first 15 years in Connecticut, and I mean, I was a paper boy during the winters, and it was a bitch, you know. And the New Haven Register, back then when newspapers were like, they were big. You know, they were stuffed with comics and advertisings, and it was tough. I bought a snowmobile when I was 12 years old to deliver the paper. Yeah.
That is really, really cool. I'm with you. I grew up in upstate New York, Connecticut, Boston, all over the Northeast. And every year I liked winter less.
Yeah.
And when I moved to Los Angeles, I have a daughter who was born on January 10th. And the first year that I was here for her birthday, which was actually last year, I had a birthday party for her. This was before quarantine. And I had a birthday party for her, and everyone was hanging out outside. And I remember going out outside and noticing that nobody was wearing shoes. And I just hugged myself for moving to Los Angeles. It was such a beautiful moment.
It was pretty at night, the snow, when it was quiet. The streets were quiet, there's snow packed, and you had that certain sound to it, you know what I mean? When a car was going by, but the ice and the shoveling and the sloppiness, and then it never ended. It's like, enough. Okay. God bless those who deal with it. You just when you're used to it, that's what you know. But if you've gotten a taste of other things, it's like, I'm done, going to go visit.
Oh, totally. And the other thing is, I said to my Michigan relatives today, I said, all I have to do is get in my car and drive 25 minutes, and I'm up at Big Bear. I'm in the mountains. Right. I'm in the snow, so I can visit it and call it cute and say hi.
Yeah, there you
Still
go.
Very charming.
Make a day trip. Okay, here's what I want to do. Let's first of all, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself? How about that?
Sure. I would love to. So I'm Nikki Bruno, and I live in Los Angeles, and my dharma is to help people to stage epic comebacks in their lives, to stage major comebacks from traumatic experiences that sideline you and bonk you in the head in the prime of your life. And so I am an empowerment coach. And I'm also a divorce coach, but I also work with people who have gone through other types of traumatic experiences. So not just divorce, like maybe 60% of my clients are folks who have emerged from or who are going through divorce. And I was inspired to do this work starting in 2015 because in 2015 to 2018, I went through a high conflict, traumatic, very painful divorce. And the process began when my son was 3 years old and my daughter was 9 months old. So my kids were really, really young. And I had never gone through something really significantly super traumatic up until that point. I was kind of a golden American girl, very privileged. My parents are still married after more than 50 years. I had an Ivy League education. I've had a really, really good life completely. And things really got shattered and fell apart in 2015. And that was also the year I decided to become a life coach. I went to coaching school, and I initially intended to be a leadership coach. But then when I got to the other side of the worst of the divorce process, I was like, no, that's not my path. My path is not to be a leadership or executive coach. My path is to be an empowerment coach and to help people to not just step past or live through or recover from something backbreakingly difficult, but to really actually come back stronger and rebuild a life that's better than what you had before the crisis hit. Because that was what I made a decision to do. And that is what I did. And as I was making my comeback, I geeked out and studied other people's comebacks too. I studied athletic comebacks, organizational comebacks, personal, spiritual transformations. And while I was geeking out, at the same time, I was taking a lot of notes and I was creating what became my methodology for my business, which is the epic comeback journey. And that's what I help people do now. I have 2 kids. As I mentioned, I'm a single mom, and life's good.
But okay, first of all, you're pretty. So you went to school. You're kind of educated. What did you go to? What were you originally prior to this? What were you doing?
prior to becoming a coach.
Yeah.
What I was doing before that is I have had my own business since 2007. So I've been a solo entrepreneur for a long time. Before I became a coach, I was a freelance editor and writer. I was in the book publishing industry. And before I started my own editorial services business, I was an editor at Prentice Hall, textbook publishing company in Boston. And before that, I was an editor at Scholastic, which is, a huge children's multimedia publisher. Oh. And then in the middle of all that, I got my graduate degree in education and was a high school English teacher for a while.
Okay, so it's safe to say that you're kind of grammatically correct. You've got the knack for that. Boy, would I fail with you, and that. That's why. Because believe me, I always say I'm saving that for the book because one day there will be. But
nice.
I could never do the book on my own because of, again, I know my pluses and my negatives, and when it comes to doing that, sure, I could speak it, but to have it properly, down, no way, Jose. So I'm waiting to figure it out.
That's what people like me are here for. It's one of the things. I love being a nerd. I love being a geek. And one of the things that I geek out on is stuff like grammar.
Wow. Okay. Sounds like fun.
I love language. Love it.
I'm kidding. Your promos, we did the little promos for you for, the past few days. Your pictures, it was like a cover girl shot. I mean, I don't know why, but those were great pictures.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I thought they were. Even
killing me, Peter G.
Simple white background. I mean, but you popped. It was like after they put the text over it and everything. It was like that looks good.
Hey,
she looks,
can I keep you around? Can we hang out more?
Sure.
You're really good for my ego, Peter G.
I'm busy until about an hour or two from now, but after that I'm free. But I do want to write a book one day, and again, it takes that's a whole different department of stuff like that. So okay, so you were into that, and then your children have a father?
My children have a father. Yes,
okay.
They absolutely do. We share custody of our kids. My daughter is now 5 years old. She's about to turn 6 in January, and my son is 8 years old. And they absolutely rock. They absolutely rock. I will tell you, we're going to be talking about the holidays tonight, and I feel very lucky that I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old in my life right now, who are my children, because they are all about the holiday spirit.
Of course,
man, they are bringing it to me.
Yeah, you live through them because watching that. But do you and your ex talk?
Yeah, we talk sometimes.
Okay,
we do.
I mean, because some people don't get that, or some have amicable divorce. It's not that easy, but
Yeah, well, we had a pretty conflict-ridden divorce that took 3 years. And at the same time, we both love our children to bits. And I would say that we do our best to keep them happy. Keep them happy, keep them healthy. That's what's most important.
Right. It's about them, but a lot of times when you get into bitter wars, I don't know what your argument was about for 3 years. Mine was over custody. It's not that she wanted it all, but I was given 50-50, and she just wasn't having it. And I'm a good dad. I love being dad. I only have one, and she's older now, but the thing was, at the time, she was 3, and that was important to me. Like, I needed to be around, and I wanted to make sure that our child had balance. Children need balance. But the thing is, when you're going through hell, you didn't want to just sit back. I don't know if you're a drinker or not, but sometimes, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's just you've had enough and you just want to drink yourself, numb, which I can't seem to do. I've tried. But practice makes perfect. But
I'm not a drinker. I mean, we all have our thing. I did not attempt to drink myself into oblivion, but I did take about 9 months or so after we separated. I took a good 9 months I call it suck my thumb. I mean, I was in shock, Peter G. Yes. I was like,
you never experienced it. It's an experience unlike no other. That's why I do my show. It's because I never thought in my wildest dreams the emotions, the ups and downs, the crap you're going to go through, didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody does. Nobody plans for it. Nobody wants it. And it is, divorce, especially one like mine, high conflict, takes a long time.
Aren't they all high conflict?
They're not. And I'm a relativist about a lot of things, but when it comes to divorce, some of them are harder than others. They're all hard.
Yeah.
They're all almost inevitably traumatic on some level. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that there's a Disney World divorce out there. I'm just saying that some of them are harder than others.
Yeah.
The ones that involve children tend to be harder.
Of course, you got children involved.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
can't just like, okay, we're going our own ways. You can't do that.
That's right. That's right. And the ones also divorces that are happening in a relationship that has an abusive dynamic, those are really freaking hard too.
Yeah.
And the ones that last a long time, the ones that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, the ones where people are not acting like civil adults.
No, you get angry and you become a bitch,
Yeah, and the divorce brings out the worst in probably most people.
Sure.
But again, divorces that involve people who have high conflict personalities, personality disorders, people who are sociopaths, people who are abusive,
Right.
people who are not, who are criminals. I mean, it isn't just mommy and daddy are fighting. I mean, in some cases, you've got mommy and daddy are addicts. In some cases, you've got one of them is physically or sexually abusing the other. And I'm not trying to be super dramatic, but
It's the truth.
But it's the truth.
There's all kinds. I mean, there's all kinds. And the individual person, how much you can take as a person, depending what you're getting thrown at. Some people just let it roll off their backs. I took everything personally. I mean, because it was personal. My world was burning down. I saw that it was getting ready to go down in flames. And, but yet you got a child that looks up to you and needs you. And you got to kind of be, hang in there. But it'll drive you crazy. I used to.
Oh, and what, the child part. You've got, so that's why in my work, I focus on not the ins and outs and logistics and the nails and the bits of the divorce process. That's not what I'm about. There are divorce coaches out there who help people with their strategy throughout the process. I'm about the comeback. I'm about getting over your divorce. In fact, my newest coaching program that I just am about to launch is called Get Over Your Divorce Before Your Divorce is Over. And why? Why get over your divorce? The stakes are really high, especially if you have children. You get over your divorce, not only for your own happiness, not only for your own sanity, but if you get over your divorce, you have children and you have friends and you have family members who want you to not just be happy, but keep contributing to your family and to your society. A lot of our societal ills, if you think about it, a lot of the problems that we have in this society are made so much worse by divorce. And I am not, by the way, anti-divorce. I'm not arguing against people exercising that right. But what I'm saying is that the stakes are high for us to get over it and move on.
A lot of people are divorced. Everybody's divorced. Think about it. I mean, I would say, again, the 3 years ago it was like 67%. I don't know what it is now. I quit looking. Doesn't matter, But we think about it. Everybody's either divorced, a product of divorce, going through a divorce, getting ready to divorce. I was going to have an attorney, a family law attorney on, but again, the holidays are just kind of crazy. Yeah. She's so busy before the holidays, and she said normally they slow down because people will hold off. Even if they want a divorce, they'll hold off because of the kids. They'll try to just get through the holidays and then go and file or this and that. She said right now they took on 35 cases, and I mean they're just scrambling because people are like, screw it, this COVID thing hasn't helped at all either. So
oh gosh, no. No, in fact, there's a study that came out based on data from a company that provides documents to people, divorce-related documents to people. Mm-hmm. And what they have found is that 34% more people have been asking for divorce, have been requesting divorce-related documents during the quarantine period we've had so far. So I think it's between March and like December, March and November maybe it was. 34% more this year during that period than last year during the same period. 34%. So you can't necessarily directly say that the divorce rate is 34% higher, but that is an indication of how much more interest there is and how much higher the divorce rate probably has become during this time.
It's always been out of control. I mean, people are very 15 minutes nowadays. I mean, my parents used to argue like Fred and Ethel. I mean, they were just at each other, but then they just figured out how to just like brush it off and they'd move on. Now, not all marriages need to stay married. I mean, some, really are bad and they need to be divorced. But I just feel people nowadays just take it too lightheartedly. There's no commitment to when the thrill is gone. They're always, if there's no thrill, they don't, they've forgotten what they actually got married for. And it's like, well, this isn't fun anymore. I'm out.
I hear you.
I mean, so this is something down the road. I mean, this is a subject that I'm always going to be talking about that is never ending. And we can take this. I hope maybe someday you'll come back on my show I mean, this is my focus. I mean, this is what started this whole show. I kind of go and do a few little things off the cuff on, out of the circle once in a while, but this is what I'm all about. The thing is now it's the holidays. So this is what you're focusing on. I mean, but becoming a coach, how does one, because when I first started doing this and I was going on Instagram, I'm seeing all these divorce coaches and I'm seeing these shows and they're like divorcing well. And I'm going, divorcing well? Are you freaking kidding me? It's like, oh, it was such a great divorce. We should do it again sometime. It just sounded really, 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 it's like, I love the positive spin, but let's face it, it's not so freaking positive. How did you? I mean, what made you? Who decides? And like, I'm going to make you a coach, and to I mean, even though you're educated in this and that, it's like, believe me, I went to therapists and whoever they sent us to, marriage counselors and this and that. I know that there's people that are more screwed up than we are, and they're counselors.
Well, that's true. Sure, that's true. But you take any industry, you take any profession, and you can find people who are not so good, and you can find people who are excellent.
There's good and bad everything. So how does one become, decide to say, okay, I want to specialize in this, and how do you do that, and how do you manage to get people to trust you to go on board?
The short answer to how you become a coach is that you hang up a shingle and you call yourself a coach. And this is one of the unfortunate things about the coaching industry, in my opinion, which is that there is no barrier to entry to become a coach. You don't have to have any particular certification. You don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to have a high school diploma. So you can raise your hand and say, I'm a life coach, or I'm any kind of coach. But of course, if you don't have any credentials, then you're fairly unlikely to attract any clients. The way I became a coach, and the way a lot of people do, is I was looking for a career change, and I was actually thinking about becoming a therapist, because I wanted to go from being a book editor where I was sitting in my living room or wherever, or the cafe or wherever, hanging out with manuscripts and just listening to the crickets in my home. I was very isolated, and I loved being an editor, but I wanted to get back to doing something a little more like teaching, something where I was being more directly impactful on people and on people's lives. And so the way I did it is I did some research into what coaching is. What is life coaching? What is executive coaching? Is this a real thing? Is this a legitimate profession? And the more I looked into it, the more research I did, and the more practicing coaches I talked to, the more I felt called to do this particular job. And coaching is different from therapy in that it's very future focused. Therapists are all about, generally speaking, helping people with their emotions, emotional regulation, emotional patterns, thought patterns, ways in which your childhood and your family of origin have impacted who you are right now, your personality right now, maybe some difficulties that you're experiencing in your relationships. And also, therapists are qualified and trained to treat mental health disorders such as depression, anxiety, PTSD, eating disorders, different conditions and disorders that people have. Coaches, on the other hand, unless they're also licensed mental health professionals, are not qualified to be treating mental health conditions. Coaches are about helping people reach their goals. Coaching is about saying to you, Peter G., what are your goals in life? What do you want more than anything in the world? What's burning in your belly right now that you don't have? And then helping you create a vision of what your of what your life looks like when you have what you want, creating a plan to realize that vision, and then implementing that plan and going for it. So coaching is, it really truly is different from therapy. There's some overlap.
You don't feel like a den mother? I mean, basically, don't people pour out their, don't people pour out their guts to you because of why and where they're going and why they need you?
People pour out their guts to me. However, we do the pouring of the guts out not for the sake of understanding why. Like, why did I get divorced? Why did this happen? Why am I feeling this way? The coaching question is always, okay, that happened. Now, what are you going to do about it? It's all about taking action. So it is not my job, neither am I qualified to explicitly be helping my clients to heal and to release all of their emotions. That is the work of a therapist. And I'm very, very ethical about this. Like, there are coaches out there who will say, I'm going to help you heal your trauma, definitely encourage their clients to spill their guts. I'm not qualified to do that. And that's not the work that I want to do. I want to help my clients reach their goals. I want to help my clients rebuild their lives.
How do you keep them on track?
Yeah.
How do you keep them on track?
Well, how do I keep them on track? Okay, so it's different for every person. Yeah. That's another difference between therapy and coaching.
That's
is that
what I'm asking.
Is that coaches have a mechanism of accountability. I help my clients with accountability, and it's different for every person, right? So I might have one client who wants to remain accountable by checking in with me, for example, and emailing me in the middle of the week between sessions and saying, hey, I got that, I made this commitment to myself to take an action and I just did it and I'm really psyched. Or, I could really use a little pep talk right now. That's one type of accountability. Another type of accountability is I have some clients who actually want to make it public what it is that they're going to do. So they might post it on Facebook or Instagram or something like that, because making something public is a way of holding yourself accountable and increasing the chances that you're actually going to take that step. Then I have some other clients who the best way for them to hold themselves accountable is to find another person or people to join them in what they're going to do. So just for example, if they want to, I'm going to use the example of losing weight just because everybody will, it's so clear and understandable. It is to find, let's say that you want to hold yourself accountable for exercising 5 times a week. Find a buddy in your neighborhood to go for a walk with you or to work out with you, or go to your gym and find an accountability buddy who's going to work with a trainer with you, something like that. So those are just some examples of how I help people to hold themselves accountable. And it really is different for every person how we tend, each of us, to be motivated to actually go and do something that we commit to doing. And coaches are experts on that. Coaches are experts on reaching goals, on accountability, on creating a really incredible, irresistible vision around where you want to be in your life.
I think it's a hard category. I mean, years ago, I'm talking maybe 10, 12 years ago, when I saw things changing, and that actually crossed my mind, because to me, it takes common sense, a lot of common sense. You have to have common sense to how you're going to guide somebody if you can't see through it yourself. But I also saw that it's like there's a lot of people that just have nothing going on, and all of a sudden they say, I'll be a life coach. But to be a successful life coach, just like anything else, is a big difference. You know what I mean? To actually have people that, because I've had people, a girl that wanted to be on this show, she wanted to be a divorce life coach. And then as time went on, I think she felt that like she was going to say, hey, I'm a divorce life coach, and people are just going to start flocking to her, and she realized she didn't. And
it takes work. Yes. It takes so much more than that. Yeah, it does. And I mean, to go back to your question, you can raise your hand and say, I'm a life coach, but if you really want to do it well, you will probably become educated. So I went to coaching school. I went to a program that typically takes about 10 to 12 months for people to complete. There is an international coaching organization called the ICF, the International Coach Federation. And the International Coach Federation has created curriculum standards, has created ethical standards for the profession and industry of coaching, and they also accredit certain schools, certain coaching certification programs in certain schools around the world. And if you go to an accredited program, then you are considered to be, like an ICF certified coach. There are programs that are not accredited by the ICF that are also effective programs. I decided to go to an ICF accredited coaching school called IPEC, and this was over and above my other credentials because I didn't know how to be a coach. I needed to be educated in it.
Well, a lot of people just say, I'll be a coach, and they just put it out there. I'm a coach. That's the problem, and then it's like nothing happens. I mean, you have clients.
I do have clients. I have had several clients since I became a coach, and you have to build your credibility within the field. You have to build your credibility. I mean, it doesn't hurt that I have a degree from Princeton and a degree from Harvard. That doesn't hurt, right? It helps people to trust me. It helps people to understand that I have the commitment that it takes to work really hard at my education. People can pretty well assume that I'm an intelligent person. But you also have to build credibility about your content area, right? And so for me, I've done a ton of networking. It takes a lot of networking. It takes working with your own coach. A lot of people leave coaching school and they're like, I'm not going to invest the thousands of dollars that it takes to work with a coach. And that's kind of a mistake. I mean, it's important to
what do they want?
Be engaged in the field, to be engaged in the field that you're in. It's important to, at least within coaching, it's important to be, to have your own mentor, to have your own coach.
Wow. How long have you been living in Southern California?
Just over a year.
What transitioned the move?
Why did I move?
Yes.
I moved because my ex-husband, he was in the process of getting remarried, and his now second wife was offered a really incredible job in Los Angeles. And so we were all back on the East Coast. And and my previous husband contacted me and said, hey, we've got this opportunity. And I took about a week to talk to my intuition about it. And my intuition said, move to LA. I mean, it's certainly the best thing for our kids.
No, that's a tough one. I mean, again, because I've had these situations. I've talked to people and who have been in these situations where one of the other has to move away, and then it's like, okay, now you have child separation, kind of, and what do you do? And that's a tough one. I mean, not everybody just goes along with it like that.
Well, one of the things that made it easier was that I was not in a relationship at the time, and I had lived in Boston for 17 years to that point, and I was ready for a new adventure, it turned out. And I jumped into the stream. That was the decision that I made, and I'm really glad that I did. I never would have thought that I'd live in LA. It's never been on my radar as a place to move to, but I love it. I'm loving it here.
The weather's great. I mean, we pay for it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I don't know what Boston is, but it's got its ups and downs. I mean, there's a beauty to this, but there's also at the end of the day, it's got its ups and downs. I don't even want to go in that direction. Let's get into the holidays here.
Sure.
You've got people. Is there a difference in what's going on as to how you work now because of the holidays? Not to even mention, I could go for COVID. I mean, how this has affected the people you're dealing with. Yeah, how do people afford to even do things if they're having problems? That's a big issue too, right? People need you, but they can't afford you. I mean, sometimes, or or they're giving up their last money to try to better themselves, and they need that. But the holidays, so. COVID's been a bitch. We'll talk about that. But now, is there a difference even more through the holidays since you've been seeing this? I mean, and if so, what?
You mean a difference in the way that people experience holidays after divorce?
Oh yeah, or whatever. You're like, okay. Let's put it this way: you're taking on clients. What's your biggest issues for the people you're taking on? What are their problems where they're having to turn their lives around and looking up to you to help them stay on track?
Well, my clients' biggest issue is that they want to get their mojo back. They want to rebuild their lives. They don't know where to start.
Caused from what?
caused from the
Divorce?
divorce.
Okay, so you
Caused
deal with a
from the
lot of
divorce.
because I got referred to you through this whole the network that you're in, the Vesta divorce.
Yes.
And so so you do a lot with that. So divorce is a big main factor, right? There's not
Divorce is a big main factor. So everyone that I work with, what my clients have in common is that they have recently emerged from 1 to 3 years of complete and utter hell, either caused by divorce, caused by an illness such as cancer, caused by a major loss, perhaps a death in the family, caused by perhaps a journey with infertility, which is certainly a major kind of loss. So I work with people who are emerging from trauma. And the holidays, when it comes to divorce, it's hard to imagine a situation where holidays don't change after divorce. I mean, especially the first year or two, right? When you've been accustomed to spending the holidays with at least with your spouse, and certainly with your kids if you have children. And so if you are going through a divorce or recently have gone through a divorce, the holidays, it's like something, something is really changing. You've had certain.
It amplifies everything. It just, the loneliness, the separation, it just takes everything times 10.
Yeah, it really does. And I have some awesome, what I think are some awesome tips for dealing with holidays this year. Like, not just because of COVID, but dealing with holidays in a way that will help you maintain your sanity. And my challenge to people this year, especially because of COVID, in the holidays 2020, 2021, Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's, whatever it is that you're celebrating, is I want to challenge all the people who are listening to this to prioritize fun, laughter, silliness. Prioritize that. It's one of the things that I think we as adults in general kind of forget about. We forget to prioritize recreation and fun and enjoyment and just being silly. And that is really my overall challenge for folks. And I understand that can be very, very hard. I get that the holidays during and after divorce are different. I get that it's really hard. I've been there. And I don't want to minimize anyone's pain, especially for those of you who have lost loved ones or have ill loved ones because of COVID or because of anything else. My own parents are having a double health crisis right now, and I can't really spend time with them because of COVID and just kind of circumstances. So that's the first thing I want to say is I get it. I get that there's sadness. I get that there's loneliness. I really, truly do. But one thing, after having said that, I want to invite those of you who are listening as a way of approaching the holidays to kind of get some perspective on it. This is a little bit of a pep talk here. Like, people have been celebrating holidays for hundreds and hundreds of years in harder conditions even than this.
How quickly we forget.
And this is, people have, like, during wars, people have spent Christmas in trenches. Like, there are people who are refugees who are walking from one country to another on New Year's Eve. Like, so that's one thing, is to gain some perspective and to try to have some understanding that this is one holiday season. Whether you're divorcing, whether you're recently divorced, this is one holiday season. So try to have some perspective on it. Like, my holidays are all over the place because every holiday season, my kids are with one parent for Thanksgiving and the other parent for Christmas. Right. This year, I spent Thanksgiving totally sola. I was by myself for the first time.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Life. And I was also, but here's the thing, is that I was also solo by choice because I really, really wanted to celebrate the holiday with just my cat and me. Like, I could have been with a friend, but kitty. But I also knew that I was going to have my kids with me, and I'm about to, starting tomorrow morning, my kids are with me for 4 straight weeks, and we are doing the whole thing for Christmas.
Yeah, but a lot of people melt down. They can't be alone. Like, I was an only child, and I went crazy as a kid because I got bored, but I mean, again, if I, the book is going to be great. I spent many alone Christmases, and but due to this, and even before I got married, there was times when it's just like, it just is what it is. It's just a day. It's just a couple of days, if you really look at the big picture. But a lot of people can't. You see these people that go stir crazy just from being, locked down. You know what I mean? And so, God forbid, they got problems on top of that, and they just can't handle it. And it's always like, well, you don't understand. It's like, yeah, we do. That's why we do what we do. I understand.
Yeah. Well, some people have more of some people have an easier time being alone than others. I happen to be an introvert. I really, truly am. I love being alone. And so it's not as hard for me being alone in general as it would be for another person who's more extroverted and who really, really needs that interaction.
Yeah, you see people that go from one relationship, they jump right out of one, and they could just jump into another just for the sake of having somebody around, even though it may not be right. And there goes the next problem about, coming down the pipe. But, it's a tough one. So, okay, so the holidays, I mean, do you find yourself now, I don't know how many holidays or Christmases are you into now with what you're doing for the coaching?
3 years, 4 years.
Do you see a pattern? Is there more so, or just maybe not because people just deal with it on their own? I mean,
a pattern in how people are handling it, you mean?
Coming to you, the phone rings more or less, just like...
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. So statistics on when people file for divorce show that January and March are the months that have the most filings. And so it's really right after the New Year.
Yeah,
it's right
most people wait.
Yeah, well, I mean, also you want to sort of, again, it's the topic of this show, get through the holidays.
Yeah.
And kind of be on the other side of that and then handle it. And also there are a lot of people, even though the divorce rate is climbing, there are also a lot of people right now who are, I think, being very smart, and they and their spouse, even though they want to get a divorce and they've already established that they're going to, they're waiting to initiate the process until after COVID. Either that, or they're not totally sure if they want to get a divorce or not, and they're saying, okay, this is a unique moment, right? This is a unique time in history, so we're going to kind of compartmentalize this. We're going to get through COVID. We're going to get through quarantine. And then we're going to go back to a more normal life and kind of wait it out. So there are people who are waiting it out. And also a lot of people who are waiting on getting a divorce are doing so for financial reasons, because this is such an economically unstable time.
Some people, they're at the brink and they just don't care, and they're going to pull the plug. And if the ship goes down, they don't realize the consequences, until, later. I mean, you're so busy in that moment, you don't think clear. It's after fighting, we fought for about 3 years, unfortunately, and I mean, but when you're in that moment, you don't realize. And to me, it really was after that moment when it finally was like said and done. The hammer went down. We're finally finished. It took a while for it to set in, like the smoke to settle, the dust to clear, and then do a body count. And the collateral damage was way worse than you even think you were, and you thought it was bad from the get-go. It just, because you're too busy being in the moment, fighting the fight for whatever reason, and and a lot of times nothing is ever gained from it. Nobody wins. Yeah,
and the holidays. So another big tip that I have is to take some time before the holidays. And right now, Hanukkah's going on right now, so it might be a little bit on the later side to be reflecting and planning Hanukkah. Christmas too. We've got a little bit more time, but is to create, think about what you need and what you want from the holidays. So start with you. Start with yourself, and just kind of sit down, find a quiet moment, sit down and reflect on what the holidays mean to you. What's important to you about the holidays? Try to get rid of all the crap, get rid of the gifts and the presents and the being in a rush and the high expectations and the, oh my God, I'm not going to be with my kids. Take a minute for yourself.
That's a big one.
Give yourself some space to celebrate the holidays in the way that's meaningful to you in your heart first. And most people don't sit and think about this, but think about what you need during this time and think about what you want during this time and find a way to make sure that you meet your own needs. Because if you don't meet your own needs, you are not in a good place to be a happy citizen with the other people in your family. So find a way to meet your needs and then maybe choose one or two of your wants and give yourself the gift of making sure that happen. It could be anything. It could be, I want to take 20 minutes to walk around my neighborhood in a socially distanced way and sing Christmas carols with my children. It could just be like one thing that would make the holiday special for you, and then make that happen. If you decide that you're just going to totally sacrifice your own needs and your own wants, every single one of them, you are setting yourself up to be miserable. And the other thing is, ask your kids. Like, I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago, I sat my kids down and I said, guys, I got out a notebook and I said, let's talk about the holidays and let's talk about what you want the holidays to be like. What songs are you excited about singing? You know, my daughter was like, Rudolph, I want to sing Rudolph. So I wrote out what my kids wanted from this holiday season. And just going through the process of doing that, it got me in the holiday spirit. It got my kids in the holiday spirit. It got us laughing about, some, Christmases in the past. And it got us talking about, like, when do we want to open the stocking stuffers? Like, so just kind of create a vision for that. And then think about, especially if you're in a divorce situation, setting some realistic boundaries. Like, boundaries are really big during the holidays, especially when we are around family members who we might be stressed out around. Like, do you need some alone time, during the holiday? Do you want a particular present from your kids or from someone else? Ask for it. Do you need to limit contact with your spouse or your former spouse? Or do you need to have no contact on that day? Let's try to figure out how to set that up. Is there something special that you want on the holiday table that really, really for you, like you have to have that homemade applesauce or whatever it is? Like, do you need to avoid certain topics, among your family, like the election?
But what about the opposite? The people, like, okay, you got the kids right now. It's the ones that are dive bombing are the ones that are going, I don't have my kids, I miss my kids. I mean, they just freak themselves out because at the end of the day, everybody lives. They really do. But it's so gut-wrenching and so crazily important to where it'll affect you so badly, and it really is. And when you look back at it 5 years from now, it's like nonsense. The child doesn't remember, I mean, it's just like you just not extended, but just really got way over emotional over that short period of time, just because it was Christmas or because it was Thanksgiving. And I know it's a great time for family and this and that, but to me, every day, I really do. I'm blessed for every day because those days are really important too. It's a little more important because they emphasize on everything because of the holidays. But actually, it's like every day you have your child or don't have your child or whatever. And those who've lost people or lost relatives or children, I can't even hold a candle to losing a child. But you got to keep on living. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. I agree with you, Peter G. And I have a different set of suggestions for folks. Let's say this is your first holiday, whether it was Thanksgiving already happened, but let's say this is your first holiday where you are not with your children. The first time ever since you became a parent where you're not with your children. Well, my first suggestion has to do with keeping that perspective. I know it's hard. I know it's absolutely hard. Another suggestion is switch it up. Switch up the holiday. It's going to be different. So see if you can either delight yourself or distract yourself by completely and totally switching it up. So, for example, declare a different holiday for yourself. Decide that instead of Christmas, it's going to be Divorce Liberation Day. That this particular year, Christmas 2020, it's going to be something different for you.
I don't smoke pot.
What's that?
I don't smoke pot. I don't know if I could, hey, whoopee, it's Peter G Day,
You know what?
I would love to delight myself, but I mean, it's like, I don't think I could get that delighted. Come on.
This suggestion is not going to be effective for everyone.
Peter's advocate.
Yeah. I got you. I totally got you.
Some people are deep. It's hard. I mean, it's just, you could tell them. It's like you just got to get through it. But I mean, I don't know. Pretend world. Can most people say, okay, no problem, Nikki. That's what I'm going to do, and will they do it?
It depends.
Or are they hard asses like me?
It just depends. I mean, people need different things. That's why I'm saying I'm not going to try to dictate or strongly recommend any particular thing other than to think about what you need and to think about what you want and to try to make it happen for yourself. If you need to Bridget Jones it, if you know that you need to have a 4-hour long ugly cry, you go for it. Do it, go for it. You do it genuinely, buy the Haagen-Dazs, or get on Netflix and binge watch The Crown. I don't know. I would never discourage someone from expressing emotion. If you need to have the ugly cry, if you're really angry and you need to be screaming into your pillow, if you need to have a 2-3 hour long conversation on the phone with your cousin, or if you need to get on Zoom with someone, again, if that's what you need, what people have a tendency not to do is to think about and reflect on what they need and talk to their gut about what really needs to happen. It's all about, I talk about this all the time with my clients. It's all about telling the truth. Seriously, the way to move on from something and to make a comeback from something is to be absolutely brutally honest with yourself about what has happened, about where you are with it, about who you are and what you need. And it doesn't matter nearly as much that you tell the truth to other people as it is that you tell the truth to yourself. Yeah,
being true to yourself and not if you believe your own bullshit, then it's a bad road. You're probably the best word of the whole thing, because you have what's that? Know thyself. That's not an easy thing for a lot of people. A lot of people do not even know who the hell they are.
That is absolutely true, and that's one of the reasons why I highly recommend for anyone who's going through a divorce, get a therapist. Get a therapist.
A lot of people, I can't afford it. People, like some people, you're saying some divorces spending $100,000. To some people, spending $1,000 or $5,000 is a lot of money. I mean, it is.
That's right.
It is, and that's like people have different zeros on their accounts, but they sweat it just as much. And I don't judge. Money is nothing to me. It doesn't make the person, but it helps. But the problem is, so you can afford to pay $100,000, $200,000. People have me beat when I was crying about how much I had to spend. I'm still paying for it, and they're going, "Well, I spent $200,000," and then I go, the ass ache, was it any less or any more? I don't, it's not a pissing contest, but it's just life, and unfortunately, you get sucked into that fight and just keep on going until you either go broke doing it, or they get tired of dealing with you finally and they kick you out of the system, which that's a whole other argument I have with the court systems. But
totally. But here's what everybody has. Here's something that levels us, is that there are some things that we can't control. And this is true about the holidays. There are some things about your holiday that you are not going to be able to control. There are some things about your holiday that you can control, that you do have choices about. And that's why I'm recommending being reflective with yourself, being reflective with your kids, being reflective with your family, and just picking, even if it's just one thing, even if it's one thing that that's within your grasp and it's realistic, one thing that that you can make happen for yourself and or your kids on that holiday, and make it happen. And like you say, Peter G., it is one day. It's one day.
It's one day, but when you got people, not everybody's amicable, and it's a very push and pull struggle. I mean, with especially again, it's a push and pull struggle when it comes to children in the mix. As to when you have them, you have to be court ordered and this and that. Who's holding them? Who doesn't give them up on time? If you only knew, again, it's going to be in the book about the day Christmas days sitting in a grocery store empty parking lot waiting for my child to eventually show up. Hours. I mean, that kind of stuff while you're sitting there just stewing.
Yeah.
I know that there's worse cases than mine, but I've lived it, and it sucked. And and again, back in the day when you married this person, had a child with this person because you loved this person, or at least you thought you did, or whatever, however you want to do it. But again, here you are, and this is what's being dealt, and those are mind screws. I mean, it just winds you up until you're finally your mind is going so loud that you start talking out loud, and looking around to see who's watching you because you just start blurting it out because you get, and a lot of people, it does drive them. I don't encourage it, but I do understand why people snap because it's tough, and some people just don't have that will to understand and bring it back down because you get pushed to a limit and enough is enough and bad things happen, and I hate it.
Yes.
But that's why we do this show because again, I think my biggest deal is to emphasize to people you're not alone. And that's why for the people who don't have you, who don't have a therapist, if they can listen at least to get a pinch of like, yeah, it's just not you. The whole world's screwed up, and there are people out here willing to help or this and that. And I'm just sharing stories, and you were kind enough to take time out of your life to share, a piece of your life as to what you do and what you're, and how you're doing it and why you're doing it. And that's important because, again, at the end of the day, we're all just people. And you have children, I have a child, and we all want them to grow up to be decent human beings, because it's a tough world out there. And it all starts by a decent upbringing and understanding because you get what you put into it. And it's not everybody has that ability to do that because they just lose it. And then what do you do?
That's true. And this year, the numbers there's an increase in divorce, that's for sure. There's also a huge spike in depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other mental health conditions. These are super, super, super rough times.
All the above.
Yeah.
We've been talking more about divorce, but there's mental health. That's important to me too because it's all about that. It's like people dealing with, just not being happy. And life is a bitch. It really is. I mean, the struggle financially for everybody is probably hand to mouth, daily, monthly. It's not that simple, but that's why we're here. And it's just my little part. I said, if I can just do something to share, to open up. I'm no therapist. I'm no lawyer. I'm no doctor. I'm nothing. I got a little bit of common sense. I got a few bad jokes, but they're good. And if we can just keep it to where somebody can, if you help, and one person goes, okay, and I get it, and share some interest to go, well, maybe my life isn't as bad as, I know it sucks, but I can probably work through it due to the fact of, being able to listen to other people's stuff.
Right.
It's worth it to me.
Can I share a little story?
Sure. It's holidays. Why not?
So this was...
You want music in the background? What kind of music you want? You want violin? You want Christmas music? What do you want?
Christmas carols. No, I want to go back to the year that I filed for divorce. So this was 2015, 2016. And when I was beginning the divorce process, I knew by instinct that I needed help. I knew that I couldn't do it by myself. There was absolutely no way. So, you're saying, Peter G., what you're saying to people is you're not alone. Right. And that's true. I agree with you 100%. People aren't alone.
Feel they're alone.
But when you feel you're alone, one of the reasons why you may feel you're alone is because you're not actually asking for help. You may have this limiting belief or this impression that people don't want to listen to you, that it's going to drag people down, that there's no one in your life who really wants to help you because everybody feels awkward and they don't know what to say.
Sure.
Like those are all kind of voices in your head that are preventing you from getting the help that you need. And what I did, this was, a few Januaries ago, is knowing that I needed help, knowing that I was about to become a single mom, which I had never expected would happen. I was going through a high conflict divorce. I had no clue what was going on. I went to, for the very first time, so I grew up culturally Christian, but I didn't grow up going to church. So, and I had gone to a few services a little bit before this moment I'm telling you about right now at a Unitarian church. So I showed up, this was in January, super cold day in Boston. I showed up at a Unitarian church and I walked in, and the first person who was greeting at the door, he ended up being the chairman of the board of the church. And I just I gave him a hug and I said, "I'm Nikki. This is my first time at this church. I'm just starting a very awful, difficult divorce. My children are young and I'm going through a very rough time and I need help." And I went and I sat during the service, and during the service, I was sobbing the entire time. And in the meantime, the chair of the board of the church was going around to some of the lay ministers, a couple of whom had gone through a divorce, and kind of pointed me out to them. And at the end of the service, I had 3 different people, one after the other, come and sit beside me, give me hugs, offer me tissues, and that began, a really incredible run of being a member of this church up till the time that I moved to Los Angeles. And, people I met there became my family. So what I want to say is that when you don't ask for help, when you don't tell anyone that you're hurting, when you don't tell anyone that you're in pain, when you don't tell anyone that this is your first holiday without your children, you're not giving a chance to other people who would want to be there for you,
right,
who would want to help you,
right,
who would want to tell you their story.
Who've been there, they understand.
Exactly. So one of the things about my divorce is you find there are surprises in both directions. There are people in your life who you think are going to be right there for you and they're going to support you, and they don't. They actually end up becoming invisible. They don't know how to deal. They go away. They disappear. On the other hand, there are people in your life, or new people who aren't in your life yet, who are going to shock you by being there for you and supporting you and being rock solid with you, that you never expected would be there. And if you don't express that you are having a rough time, you're not gonna provide the opportunity for those people to emerge.
Some people don't say anything. They feel it's very private. They keep it private, and they end up just drilling themselves even deeper into a ditch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I understand it is a private topic.
It's tough. Well, for some people, look, I'm very grateful. I tell everybody 1,003 times that I'm very thankful. I bent some very close friends' ears very heavily. I owe them everything. Because you have to let the pressure out. I'm the guy. This is why I do this. This is why I do this. At the same time, while I'm trying to get the message out, it keeps me normal. Mm-hmm. There's a reason. It's a double. It's a me. One hand washes the other. As my father would say.
It's important to find release valves, isn't it?
So, once again, we have blown through an hour, and see how fast it goes by. This wasn't. This is a little bit better than a TV segment to be on for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. As I figured, you did exceptionally well.
Oh, thanks, Peter G. I'm really enjoying our conversation.
I knew it was going to be easy with you when we spoke on the phone. There's just times when I just know what's going to happen, and it did. My thing to you is there anything you'd like to plug while you're on the show? And I really would. I mean, honestly, I wish I had you right here next to me doing this because it would be even more fun. But this is the next best thing, and in time, I'd love to have you back on the show sometime down the road. Because again, everything's forever changing. Even though we're talking basically about the same stuff, it's always the same stuff, only different.
Yeah,
people need. Sure. We're always touching different people. I mean, whoever doesn't see this tonight, we'll see this through the week. We'll see this through the month. We'll see this. This show will ever last, and as you know, it rolls on and on and on. I don't really count on everybody tuning in on the East Coast at midnight, to watch me. But
yeah, I was going to say, I said that to all my friends on the East Coast. I was like, 8:30 Pacific and very late.
Yeah, but the thing is, the show's on demand. They can pull it up. It'll be on YouTube in a day or so. It'll be up on LinkedIn, and there'll be excerpts of you through the week. It gets cut up into a few little 1 and 2 minute pieces here and there. A couple people tend to want to watch little sound bites.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you did great, but if there's anything you want to plug, now's the time to do it.
I would like to plug, I talked a little bit earlier about the brand new program that I'm launching on January 13th. It is called Get Over Your Divorce Before Your Divorce is Over. And I'm going to be sharing 7 strategies that are the absolute best of what I know, who I am, my own experience, plenty of research, work with my clients on how to fast forward, how to get over your divorce completely and quickly. And the best place to find out more about me and find out more about my work, as well as that new program, is to go to my website, which is theepiccomeback.com.
Theepiccomeback.com. And you can also be found, I see that you're on Instagram.
I'm on Instagram at The Epic Comeback. I'm on Facebook. I believe it's The Epic Comeback Global. I do have a business page. I also have my personal page, which is Nikki Bruno. And I'm really active on LinkedIn as well. Nikki Bruno. Yeah. Nikki Bruno.
Nikki.
That's me.
I've never met a unattractive Nikki. I don't know what it was, but there's always everybody who's named Nikki just seems to be. If you got to be attracted to be called Nikki.
I don't know what to say about that.
Just
other
say
than
it's the truth.
There you go.
It's in the book,
The book, yeah. Yes, the book of names.
Yeah, if you're gonna be, it's like you got stripper names, you got attractive names, you got all kinds of names, and it's just the way it is. But the holidays.
I could talk about this for an hour. I'm actually obsessed with names, and I could be talking about this.
We're gonna have to save this for the next show, though.
Peter G, if your name were Bob W, you would be a totally different human being.
Yeah.
You would be a different person.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine being Bob W. I have a hard enough time being me, let alone Bob W.
Sebastian Q.
Again, I didn't even know we were going to go in that direction. That's deep thought. I'm going to have to think that one out. I mean, I could probably act out, a different person, but to actually be one is a different story. What holiday are you celebrating? Hanukkah's or Christmas or whatever? I don't know.
I am celebrating Christmas.
Okay. Well, then I want to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being so approachable and conforming to make it on the show. I'm glad you came on this show before the holidays are over, because I really wanted to touch with somebody. Well, there's plenty of people, but the thing was, I don't know, for some reason, gut instinct, I believe that maybe my postponement, for whatever the reason being, was for a good thing, and I'm really glad that you were here.
I agree, and Peter G, I wish you a happy and peaceful holiday season, and also to all of you who are listening. I'm going to go straight back to what Peter said earlier. You aren't alone, and I'm going to just tell you right now, I am one of the people who is with you. I'm thinking about you right now, and I love you who are listening right now. Whatever it is that you're going through, however painful it is, however new it is, however fresh it is, I'm wishing you peace.
Yeah, it's a lot easier said than done for a lot, but you have to start somewhere. And all right, here's the thing. Again, I hope I get to see you again on this show. It may be a different style, maybe the same way, who knows? But down the road, I would love to have you on because again, this is a never-ending subject. And
it is.
I also want to thank Deanne Coyle for recommending me from Vesta Divorce. She recommended you, so she must have thought pretty highly of you, and I see why. So
she's great.
Yeah.
And
That's it. All right. Well, thank you for. Oh, it's not late. You're on this side. Let me tell you, I have a hard time with the people on the East Coast guests. I mean, because I get it, it's late, but I don't know. For some reason, everybody's like crying they're old. It's like, come on, man.
Oh man, it's true. Sunday night's a good time for a show. It's really chill.
I don't think. See, if I had my choice, I mean, I don't know why, but I probably wish I was on around 4:30 on a Wednesday. Believe it or not.
Oh.
Because Sundays just seem to me like people are just winding down and they're done for, got to get up, got to go to bed, and I don't know, but I committed to this, and I just stick to my guns because this is just a stepping stone. I had to start somewhere with the live stuff, and it's a step. There's been lots of stepping stones, and this is just one of them. Who knows? 6 months from now, 6 days from now where the hell I'll be. But right now, here we are, and we're gonna. This show will carry on. So I hope that you get to use it to your advantage, and I hope that you're happy with the outcome of it, because I am.
100%.
All right. Well, listen, again, thank you so much, and we'll be talking to you down the road. Okay.
All right. Take care.
Love you. Thank you.
Take care.
Good night. And we go here. Well, there you have it, folks. Miss Nikki Bruno. I knew she was going to be good. I knew it because I, got that from the first instinct that I started talking to her. And I just felt it. I said, you know what? She's real. And in this day and age, you got to be real. Because fake eventually shows its colors. I hope that you guys got something out of this. I really do. I mean, these kind of conversations I'm going to have, all through the year. But again, I put the emphasis on the holidays because, the holidays just put the emphasis on all by themselves. It attenuates, the whole reason for, it just makes things even tougher when it comes to emotional, existence. The holidays, you're like, look, I mean, there's many times, again, people, this, don't judge all by this, I mean, my life still, my daughter's busy. There's a lot of times, I spend a lot of time by myself. Now, I'm okay with it, but things are slowly changing. I'm too busy to be worrying about making sure I have somebody by my side. When that time comes, that time will come. But I had to just put things into priorities. You don't just grab on for security. You have to be secure within yourself. That's a tough one. Again, you have to be understanding. I mean, a lot of things happen, and you just have to deal with it. But again, friendship is good. If you got somebody to talk to, even strangers, as we talked about last week, confiding in somebody, it just helps to let it out. You have to talk it out. You tend to hear yourself. I found when I have guests on this show that talk about their problems, if they watch the show afterwards, they learn more about themselves than before the show. Because they don't hear themselves. You're too busy talking to hear yourself. And really hear what's going on and watch the facial expressions and see the pain. Know thyself. And I learned that from a psychiatric doctor friend of mine. Dr. Lakshman Razaya, who I miss. I need to call him. He was on the show 3 years ago. Great guy. He just has common sense. He's witty, but he's smart. And know thyself. It's like you've got to understand who you are before you can, start helping yourself. And if you can't help yourself, you need somebody to help you to help yourself. And as Nikki Bruno said, if you don't speak out and ask for help, don't expect to get it. Nobody, I mean, with my ex, again, I loved her to death, but you had to be a mind reader because, if I was a mind reader, I'd still be married. But I don't, I'm just not a mind reader. You got to speak. And if you shut down and you keep it all locked inside you, God help you. Speaking of God help you, I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in to Life with Peter G. The Peter G. Show right here live on Facebook. The Peter G. Show. Share it with your friends, people, please. That's all I ask. That's what I want for Christmas. Share, share, share. I'm so looking forward to next year, moving forward, getting bigger, better, us stepping it up, moving on, moving into different things. I can't say exactly what I'm doing, but I know that things are gonna change. In the meantime, I'm fortunate enough to be here thanks to my good friends at Bolt Energy. Bolt Energy, electrify your senses, no preservatives, cleaner energy drink. It's enriched with vitamins and antioxidants. It's an all-natural energy drink, okay? There's no energy drinks out there that are all-natural. They're not. This has a shelf life, so they have to sell it by certain times because it's all natural. Get it? All natural. That's right. That's right. And you got to love them for that because they're workout fanatics. I've made a promise to myself. Eventually, I'm going to become a workout, not a fanatic, but I just have to get my act together. I'm too busy hustling. That takes a toll, but I need to be better. Things look good from here, but my daughter's making fun of me. She called me Porky the other day. Porky. Kids. Anyway, go out and get Bolt Energy. If you can't find Bolt Energy, go to www.drinkboltenergy and ask the Bolt Energy people, where can I find Bolt Energy? Ask for it in stores. Say, hey, the Peter G Show said Bolt Energy kicks ass. Where can you guys have it? And if they don't, boy, are they going to feel stupid. Tastes good. It doesn't taste like shit. I swear to... That's a good thing. Unless you like the taste of shit. Then, I don't know. You have to figure it out. Anyway, God bless Bolt Energy. And Merry Christmas to my Bolt Energy people. Very grateful. We share a lot of common things. And believe it or not, that the whole thing, and one day we're going to talk about it on the show. When I talk to my Bolt Energy people, we shared a lot of common issues and interests back when we first met. And this is why we're all here today. So that's it. Show's overtime as always. And I can't even imagine how they fit a 1 hour show with commercial breaks and all that kind of stuff. Somebody would have to calm me down tremendously because I don't know how you do that. I just don't know how you do it. We're talking nonstop for an hour 20. But it's all essential stuff. Next week I'm going to have Miss Jennifer Perry on. Jennifer's a publicist. I'm going to go a little bit more entertainment. We're going to talk about some personal stuff, but she's a publicist. Books, entertainment publicist out of Atlanta. And I don't know, we talked a long time ago, and all of a sudden, again, our paths are finally getting together. And it is the holidays, but I'm going to have her on, and we're going to talk about stuff. Miss Jennifer Perry, publicist, entertainment, personal stuff, professional stuff, you name it. But she's going to be on the show, and I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see you next week. I want to thank everybody for paying attention. Don't forget, through the week, you can watch these shows during the repeats. You can watch the show anytime you want. Just go on to the Peter G Facebook page and hit play. Go on to YouTube. Go on to LinkedIn. Instagram only has little clips. Just share, people, all right? I'll see you next Sunday, December 20th, right here. Like clockwork, 8:30 Pacific, 10:30 Central, and 11:30 on the East Coast. Again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know, life's full of choices. You don't have to pay attention. There's many things to watch. You could be watching TV, but yet you choose to watch little old me. And I appreciate it, and I love you for it, okay? And again, share it with your friends. You never know who you might be helping just by hitting that share button. There's people that might need to hear these stories that have no clue that they need to hear these stories. So just do it, all right? Love you guys. See you next week.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, Peter G Show, Peter G Show. Divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad. Peter G Show.